Looking forward to seeing Colour Vision back in action. Brilliant in the Ascot Gold Cup. Not suited by Goodwood would be a fair assessment of his performance?
Yeah, I think he didn't handle the track at Goodwood, and yet still, strictly, he came out as the best horse in the race. He still sets the standard in this division, but the downside for him, of course, is that the Doncaster Cup is a Group 2 again, so again he's got to wield a Group 1 penalty. The track is clearly going to suit him better. I think he's a thorough stayer. I think he's going to be hard to beat.
Well, I must confess that I was deflated by the performance of Sadler's Rock in the Lonsdale Cup. I'd held him in such high regard that even given the fact that there may have been excuses for how fast he went early on in the race, the way he folded, I thought was pretty disappointing, Steve.
You're a fickle, fickle man, Rish. I knew that all
Yes,
along.
I am.
You are. I think you, given the reasons, I'm not going to lose the faith. I think it was here last year in this race where he established himself as the promising stayer he did. I think he won the Goodwood Cup despite things not working ideally for him. And I don't think he wants to be in front a long time out. Now,
is that the only excuse for last time?
I thought he was ridden far too hard. I think the times, the sectionals tell you that they went very, very hard from before the straight. The best way to get a stayer beat is to go too quick, and having gone slow, they then went much too quickly, and I think it was a race which is very easy to forget.
Well, a horse who certainly disappointed towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year is Time's Up, but he's back to form, judging by that performance in the Lonsdale Cup.
I think you can argue that two ways. I was a big Time's Up fan at the end of last season. I thought he would develop into a top-class stayer over 2 miles and further. I still think that 2 mile, 2 furlongs will bring out positive things in him. He's a half-brother to Give Notice who stayed 2.5 miles, so I think that's a positive. He won an odd Lonsdale Cup where they crawled and then sprinted, but he travelled through the race really nicely and he didn't hang in the way that he did do in the Henry II Stakes. And you can argue the yard's in better form. John Dunlop has had a difficult season, but things are much, much better as of August. I'm in two minds about him. I can see him running really well. I can also see the Lonsdale Cup literal form being not worth a button.
Well, a horse who's been competing at the highest level in staying races for a number of years now is Ascot, Steve, and every time he turns up, he tends to give his running. Yeah,
I don't think he quite did last time. I know connections feel that it was sort of the rain and the tacky ground. I must be, I don't really buy into that. The time was still pretty good. I think the ground was still, lively enough when he ran in the Lonsdale. But again, I think he's a stayer. I think he was compromised by a really muddling race. He stayed on to get the end. Extra 2 furlongs here, definitely a big plus. If he did get a proper test, that would really suit him. Again, he'll be a big price on the day, and on his best form, he's got a good chance of being in the frame.
Masked Marvel returns to the scene of his best performance so far. Last year's St Ledger that he won in fantastic style. He's trained in Newmarket by John Golston.
He'd worked well coming up to the King George, but he's slightly disappointed there. Frankie wasn't hard on him, he eased him. And then you would have to say that Geoffrey Freer was somewhat of a frustration. So look, we're stepping him up in trip. When he won the Ledger, he broke the track record into a headwind, and William Buick had a little trouble pulling him up. He was around Rose Hill before he got him pulled up. So from that point of view, the trip's no problem.
Well, last time in the Geoffrey Freer, I thought he chased far too strong a pace.
Pluses are that he returns to Doncaster, seen of his finest hour, and he's likely to have a soundest surface, which is definitely what he wants. You can make excuses for a couple of his runs this year, but I'm just forming the overall view that he's not quite trained on into the 4-year-old I hoped and imagined he would.
Colour Vision has had an impressive season so far, and despite having to carry a penalty, I think he's going to be good enough to win the Doncaster Cup.
I'm going to stubbornly stick with Colour Vision. I think the Goodwood Cup told you that he's near enough good enough to be able to win a Group 2 despite carrying a Group 1 penalty, and he's just more straightforward than most of his rivals.
Sadler's Rock wins the Doncaster Cup. Forget his last run, everything went against him that day. Remember what he did here last year.